Welcome to CX Trends. My name's David Dungay, and we are here to discuss the biggest trends of the year and how they are impacting the customer experience space. I'm joined by Zach Brackett, Chief Product Officer at SugarCRM. Welcome to the show, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well, David. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So today, Zach, we're going to be talking about some of those trends impacting the space, particularly around analytics and data and how companies can use AI to get the most out of those. But before we get into that conversation, Zach, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and the business?
Sure. So my name is Zach Brackett. I'm the Chief Product Officer at SugarCRM, and our mission is to let the platform do the work. We're designing software to help marketers, to help sellers, and to help customer service organizations to do the best job that they possibly can for their customers and basically build customers for life.
Fantastic. And of course, you're fresh off an award win from the CX Awards earlier in the year where you won Best CRM Vendor. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
Let's go straight into those first questions then. How can AI contribute to improving analytics capabilities and enabling businesses to get the most out of their data?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fundamentally, what AI models are really good at is processing all the historical information that we've kind of captured within a business and then making predictions about the future. Now, with the right training, these kinds of machine learning models are able to actually anticipate things like future trends or to predict, customer behavior. They're also really good at doing things like highlighting risks. And this is especially useful in fields like marketing, sales, or service, where you're dealing with vast volumes of customer information and you're trying to make sense of it all. In a system of record like a CRM, the quantity and the breadth of all that information that's available is just unfortunately too large for a human being to really fit in their head and to be able to reliably interpret. Over time, I guess things like evolution have made us really good at identifying, that movement that's off in the distance, that bear who's hungry and looking for lunch and coming to get you. But we're not nearly as skilled at things like looking at thousands of rows in an Excel spreadsheet and trying to figure out where's the anomaly, right? Where's the problem? But for to its benefit, machine learning is really good at these kinds of problems. It has the ability to work through these vast quantities of data without ever having to break a sweat. And it can identify all of the patterns and the correlations that would be incredibly easy for us as humans to go ahead and miss.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's and it seems to be gathering pace as well. The development out there in the AI industry, we're seeing so much happening right now. It's a truly exciting time. Every business really should be looking at how AI can impact what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Zach, I do want to touch on some of those real-world examples. You mentioned a few there around marketing and sales, but perhaps you could provide some more examples of how AI-powered analytics are helping businesses uncover some of these patterns and trends you spoke about just then.
Yeah, sure. There's some really big examples that we've probably all heard of, right? Like Netflix famously used AI to optimize the recommendations for what customers should watch next. And of course, that led to a generation of people like ourselves who binge watch all of our favorite shows. You've got companies like Amazon who are using AI to predict what customers are likely to buy next. And, surprise, surprise, we as consumers, we go out there and we buy it. It's extended now into credit card companies who are using AI to help detect patterns and to prevent fraud and alleviate those transactions that are costing all of us money. You've got medical companies who are using things like machine learning to help interpret scans and to diagnose patients. So there's all kinds of really exciting usage that's happening. But the really cool part is that all of these underlying technologies are actually becoming more accessible to the average business user. And at SugarCRM, we've been able to help our customers to identify things like their ideal customer. We've shown them things that maybe surprise them about their customers by combining the data from all of these different business units. Let me give you an example. You might think that your ideal customer is, in I don't know, the manufacturing industry, because you close a lot of business in manufacturing. But if you actually look at the data and you combine things around the business, you might also notice that those manufacturing customers are churning out at a higher rate, or they're having a much more significant cost in order to support them. And machine learning can really help you to combine these different silos of information from around the business and make better informed decisions, for your company.
Zach, I want to dig into that a little bit more. You mentioned that that average business user, Sugar CRM, you're really enabling that kind of insight into those businesses. What do you term as an average business user? Is that a business user from maybe an SMB type organization, or how do you classify that?
Well, I mean, obviously, the technology is becoming more accessible to all businesses. At Sugar, for us, our target market is really the mid market. So we're looking at those customers who are, larger, established businesses that are trying to become enterprises that maybe don't have the time to build out their own science projects and that kind of thing. They're looking for a partner who can really help them through all of these kinds of scenarios, and that's where we really focus.
Fantastic. Okay, I did want to ask you about accuracy. Obviously, there's with AI, you've got the ability to analyze so much data at once and really extract those trends you spoke about. But how can businesses ensure the accuracy and the reliability of those analytics and those results? And, what kind of measures can they put in place to prevent things like bias or just maybe incorrect interpretations of that data?
Yeah, it's a bit of an onion, really. It starts with ensuring that the data that's involved in the business is high quality. Obviously, AI models really benefit from having reliable, clean, and representative data. And one of the things that I would counsel businesses to think about is their data acquisition strategy, right? You want to gather data directly in the places that users actually exist. These are places like your email and your calendar, right? And you don't want to rely on users to actually have to summarize that information and input it into another system. So you want to automate as much of that as possible. The next thing that I would think about is that unlike a fine wine, data doesn't get a lot better with age, right? It becomes less accurate as time goes on. And so, you can sort of augment the data that exists in the various systems that you have with external data sources like firmographic information. And these are really useful tools to help your business be able to kind of see around the corners that maybe exist in your data. You talked a little bit about bias. Bias tends to creep in when the data sets that we're using aren't diverse enough. And there's some really excellent open source projects like VerifyML and FairLearn that can help businesses to identify whether they have biases in their models and their training sets. And these are really useful tools to help to make sure that we're building out the best models that we possibly can. But ultimately, it's important to understand that AI isn't perfect. And neither are we as humans, right? Humans have been misinterpreting data for pretty much as long as data has existed. We even do it when it comes to judging AI performance, for example, for both good and bad. We cherry pick situations where the AI got it wrong, and we kind of point at that and say, hey, that there's a problem here. Or we over rotate when we see, a single successful outcome from AI. I guess one of the things that I like to highlight when I'm having these kinds of conversations is that to be a valuable support tool, AI doesn't need to be perfect, right? It just needs to be more accurate than humans. And we need to understand, when we're using it, some of the reasons why it's making the predictions that it's making so that we can be more trusting of the AI going forward, and we can ensure that it's doing the things that we want it to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you make a great point about the data. The AI is going to analyze that data, but before you get to that point, you've got to have good data. Make sure your data's in shape, if you like. I did want to touch on privacy and data security concerns as well. How can businesses address any of these concerns they might have around using AI for their analytics, and what steps can they take to really protect that particularly that sensitive data, I guess, that they might be holding?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this answer as well. You got the basics of keeping data secure, right? Things like encryption to protect the integrity and the privacy of the data. preventing it from falling into the wrong hands or being tampered with, en route. You've also got, the ability to anonymize data. There's plenty of use cases for AI that actually don't require the use of PII, and I definitely would encourage people, to think about what types of data need to be involved in the models, and to sort of limit themselves to the things that need to be there. You've got a lot of legalities around maintaining and processing data to begin with, right? You've got regulations like GDPR and CCPA, which provide really actually great frameworks for businesses to think about, ensuring that they're processing data legitimately. They take into account things like consent or legitimate business interest, and help you to really understand, how to think about using people's data in these models in ways that are, the ways that you would want that data to be used, and in compliance with consumer expectations. Yeah. And I think this highlights to me one of the areas that I think is the most important, which is that businesses really need to put thought into their data strategy, and provide transparency around that strategy to their customers. Things like having appropriate privacy policies. But also, training your staff and making sure that they're aware of what your policies are and how they're supposed to use that information and how they're not supposed to use that information. And then having things like audit and compliance programs on the other side of things to make sure that you're actually using all of that data in the ways that you think you are as well is really important.
Yeah, as always, there's always a weak link in when it comes to data, and quite often that is humans at the end of the day. So it is important to make sure your staff are on the same page as the rest of the business. So, okay, looking ahead, Zach, there's so much going on in this market. What kind of developments or advancements do you foresee in the AI this year or around AI analytics this year, and that you're excited about? And how can customers really stay at the forefront of this technology as this market progresses?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, on the trends front, you've got generative AI, which is obviously moving like a freight train. I mean, you see new announcements around it every day. I would encourage people not to think about, individual types of AI, separately, right? They're all going to be combined in order to kind of provide the best possible outcomes for businesses and for consumers. On the predictive front, though, the idea of explainable AI is really, really important. You're going to see more insight into why models are making particular predictions. And this is a critical step for building trust, right? For knowing what's happening kind of behind the curtain. There's a lot of research that's happening in this, and there's a lot of advancements that are coming over the next little bit that I think will directly impact how people trust the predictions that are coming from AI models. You're also going to see a move towards more real-time predictions, not having to wait, not having it be a background process where a score gets updated overnight or those kinds of things, but actually in the moment, reacting to data as it's sort of arriving in the systems. And I think you're also going to see AI models that become more adaptive as well. Being able to adjust to changes in the business more quickly, or to new ways of interacting with the data, or answer questions that maybe traditionally would take a little bit longer or would require new models to be built. With regards to staying at the forefront, I think one of the most important things is for businesses to invest in training, right? People need help to leverage all of these new tools effectively. And it's important for us, as businesses to understand that employees are experimenting with these new technologies, whether we want them to or not, right? It's happening. It's like gravity. And so being part of that conversation and helping to inform them on, the ways that are acceptable to use that information and the ways that maybe we don't want to use that information is really important. Businesses need to be active in the conversation. And obviously, things are moving incredibly quickly. I would say that businesses should monitor and experiment with these trends, investing, aggressively in the areas that align with their strategic business priorities. And I think that you and CX Today do a really good job of shining light on these kinds of trends, for businesses, helping them to see which ones are important and which ones to pay attention to. And finally, I'd say that businesses don't have to go at it alone, right? We have a lot of AI vendors who are out there, partners like SugarCRM, who can help to provide access to the latest technologies, but also consult and deliver pre-trained models and insight into where the industry is going and help you to navigate, the drastically changing landscape.
Yeah, that's a really important point. By all means, businesses should be experimenting with this, but there are partners out there like SugarCRM who can really help hone those skills and provide that direction where it's going to have the best or most impact in your business. So, Zach, unfortunately, that is all we've got time for. I've really enjoyed today's conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you as well. Thank you for the time.
And thank you for watching. You'll be watching me, David Dungay, on CX Today. If you like today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. And don't forget, you can also follow the CX Trends hashtag on social if you want to find out a little bit more about what's going on in this series. That's it from me. See you next time.